So the internal combustion engine in cars is almost dead. Certainly doesn't have much of a future left. But for some extreme sports cars that are gonna die pretty soon as well, and it's only natural that this trend is going to continue into the two-wheel world, into the motorcycle world, and that's why I feel actually the need to go and buy my dream bike ASAP because it's not going to be very long before I will no longer have a dream bike. That's why actually I switched from cars to motorcycles because cars became so disgustingly bad for what I love, which is not cars, actually driving, racing, and driving. That I had to look at motorcycles and do what I hadn't done when I was young, thankfully, buy one. And motorcycles are following suit, but they still have some life in them. It's ironic that right at the death of the internal combustion engine, the manufacturers sort of came to their senses, if you can say that. They were mostly forced by the political and environmental circumstances and started pumping out actual sports bikes. And let me give you an example like the new Suzuki GSX GS8R that many will tell you is not a true sports bike because it's not a super sport. But I would argue that the super sports were never sports bikes. The super sports, which are still around, are actually race bikes made road legal. If you look at the car world, you have like your sports cars, your Porsche 911s, Ferraris, and everything. And they make some track focused versions like the GT3 RS. They are basically, let's sort of say, race cars that are made road legal, but they are not the true sports cars. You buy a GT3 and that's hardcore enough. It's a sports car. So I would go as far as to argue that the GS8R, the new bike from Suzuki, is an actual sports bike, not your Kawasaki ZX6R or your CBR quadruple R and whatnot. It's unfortunate that for decades the manufacturers' decisions were being based on the needs of horny 20-year-old males, and a heavy toll has been, heavy price has been paid. Many lives have been lost before we've come to like our senses, so to speak. And it's unfortunate that it's now that we have come to our senses, not going to last very long. I'm sorry, I'm an old man dying of smoking. Do be like me, okay? And some could argue that the GSX8R, the GS8R, I keep saying that, is not fast enough. I would say it's a mid-range sport bike, like entry-level sport bike, your Kawasaki 400, now 500, your CBR 500R. Yeah, I get it. They are A2 compliant, and so they are slow, like a little under 5 seconds to reach 100 kilometers per hour slow, 180 kilometers per hour top speed. So they are your entry-level sport bikes. And your GS8R is your mid-range sport bike. How about some tame, um, high-end sport bikes? How about your Ducati 950 Super Sport? That's a high-end sport bike that is actually a sport bike tuned for the road, not for the track. And it's really sad that this craze about track-focused bikes has come at a time that we don't really have much time left, right? As lovers of internal combustion engines, a lot of youngsters today swear by the new electric stuff. It's understandable, I guess. Some of the modern stuff is actually good, not gonna lie. Electric power plants, when it comes to actual love of driving and love of riding, eh, I beg to differ. It has to do with experiences lived and feelings felt on machines that would give you the sense of road and environment and smell that would overwhelm your senses and give you a feeling of joy and accomplishment that just is lost with today's digital world. If I were to, how do we say it in Greek, put some water in my wine, like, I would go with the digital dashes. Okay, so of course I'm old and I love the analog dials. You have to admit that they're actually pretty cool, right? And I see no reason to switch to an LCD dial um, predominantly. Like many retro style bikes retain the analog dashes and they add a small LCD dial that gives you all the necessary information like what gear you're in and your fuel consumption trip and all that. I have to admit that the even more modern TFT dashes and generally doing away with the analog ones offers some extra advantages that cannot be overlooked, like connectivity with your phone. I don't care about songs and all that, but maybe you do. But certainly, and on the high-end bikes, all the different modes and all the information and data and telemetry and everything. But getting a notification that your phone is actually ringing when you're riding is pretty nice. Getting a, you know, Google Maps and whatever maps and navigation on your TFT screen is also very nice. So yes, I'm willing to do away with my retro uh, dials, analog dials for the newer stuff, but I'm certainly not willing to do away with my internal combustion engine for electric shit. And so be on the lookout if you love bikes like me and engines like me and driving and riding like me, because the end of an era is approaching. So grab yourselves one before it's too late. Now, it doesn't have to be like tomorrow. You'll get ample warning before it happens. Let's just be on the lookout that when you get that warning, you should be ready to go for your dream bike or whatever bike before they shut it all down. Okay, so the whole purpose of this was to like it started differently, but you know how the human mind works, especially if you're a little bit demanded and stressed and all that stressed out. That now we have probably the best motorcycling that there's ever been. That cannot be said for the car world. Cars are shit. They've been shit for a couple of decades now. The best cars were like 30 years back. The driver, road connection, and all that. But for in the bike world, you still get that enjoyment and the bike life. And now you can actually choose between retro bikes, classic bikes, if you're feeling that old, neo retro bikes, modern bikes, futuristic bikes, super sports bikes. You have everything at your disposal, and it's safer than ever. And at the same time, you lose nothing in terms of enjoying bike life. So this is really in some respects, probably the golden era of motorcycling with so many options. And since it's extremely dangerous occupation to be riding a bike, safer than it's ever been, which makes it unfortunate that it's coming right at the death of the IC. So let me know what you think. See you around.